Hello folks and welcome to Ghost Stories. This is Philip here from Ghost Stories. We're all coronavirus 19, as you can see it here on the sign. COVID-19. We're all COVID-19 free now. And just out and about, I have about a half an hour to spare, and I want to show you where I'm going to go in my next location. As you can see it here, up here on the sign here, we are in Ravensdale, and Ravensdale is going to be our next live investigation. So with no further doubt, let me try to explain to you what to look forward to in our next live investigation. See you in a minute.
A 35-year-old man has been found guilty of murdering two Dublin men in County Louth in 2012. Jason O'Driscoll, with an address at Richmond Avenue in Fairview, had pleaded not guilty to murdering 31-year-old Anthony Burnett and 25-year-old Joseph Redmond.
The Central Criminal Court heard that emergency services were called to a burning car at Ravensdale Forest Park at the foot of the Cooley Mountains at 10 to 11 on the night of March 7th, 2012. The bodies of the two men, 31-year-old Anthony Burnett and 25-year-old Joseph Redmond, both from Ballybock in Dublin's north inner city, were discovered inside the stolen car. They had both been shot in the head. The court heard evidence that the two men left their homes that evening to travel north. Jason O'Driscoll was living in Newry and had told them he'd pay €700 for the one-year-old Volkswagen Golf if they would drive it up to him. Much of the case was built on circumstantial evidence. CCTV footage showed O'Driscoll and another man topping up mobile phones that were in contact with the two men on the night of the murders. Footage also showed O'Driscoll in a hotel where there was a payphone that showed up in their call records from that evening. He was also captured on footage at around 11 that night, entering an off-licence just across the border in Armagh. After over 7 hours of deliberations, the jury today found him guilty of the murders. After the verdict was read out, Justice Michael White thanked the jury for their service, exempting them from duty for 15 years. Jason O'Driscoll stood up and shouted obscenities in the courtroom. As he was led away, he said there was no evidence and he was guilty of nothing. Sentencing was adjourned until October 2nd. O'Driscoll faces the mandatory sentence of life imprisonment. Sinead Hussey, RTÉ News at the Central Criminal Court.
Right, welcome back. We're in the car park here at the moment in Ravensdale's Wood, and this location itself has a history, a massive history itself, of paranormal activity. Why? You see the little tree beside me. This was a big, huge oak tree going possibly about 100 foot high in the sky. Let me show you here, like these other trees here. Huge trees in this car park here. This is a car park here located in Ravensdale Wood, in this location. And this location here was a big, huge oak tree. And the story goes in here. Well, let me try and show you this little video, and we'll back to you in a second. Just take a look at this video, and this is the story behind this oak tree here. This is only one part of Ravensdale Wood. When we're coming live, it's different when we're coming here when just at the dusk, coming to dark time, and you cannot see what it looks like during the day. So just take a look of what I found on the internet in relation to this oak tree. Take a look at this. So that was the story of the oak tree, of the two young boys who got murdered, shot dead underneath that tree. That some people say it was in relation to drugs. Some people who are saying that it was just something that just went wrong. They were selling the car, but just unfortunately things went wrong for them two young lads, and they were murdered underneath the car. Not only were they murdered, but they were burnt in the car as well. So that is just one story in relation to Ravensdale Wood. Just let me take a look there and show you, just in that area around here. This area itself holds some mysteries after mysteries. and we're just here in the car park here. We're just going to go to our next mystery now. We're going to show you, just going to go up a small bit up here in the hill, and we're going to show you what's going on here. So let's go up here a small bit up the hill. I'm just going to go down here. It won't take a few minutes. We're just going to walk about 10 yards up here. We're going to show you up here. There was a plaque here in regards to the two young lads that were murdered. It was left there, and that's recently has been taken away for some reason. So we're just going to take a walk up here, and we're going to have a wee chat up here. These are the woodlands up here. You can see it all the way up here. At night time it's a lot different when you're walking up these roads here. So here it is. It's actually moved over here now. This is a sign for the two young lads. You can see it there. Joseph Redmond and his friend Anthony Burnett. You can see it there. You can see the sign is actually just left there on the track. And that's the story of the two young lads that were burned in the car park down there. So it's a different story when you're coming out here at night time doing your investigations. Not only have you the car park down there of the two young lads, but on this track here where we're walking brings the story of Captain Robert Nyrak. Captain Robert Nyrak was a British intelligence army soldier who was kidnapped from the Irish Republican Army. He was tortured in a bridge not too far away from this location. Not too far away from this location at all. Captain Robert Nyrak was kidnapped from the Three Steps pub from the Irish Republican Army and brought to a bridge not too far away here. People say that he was behind of the massacre of the Miami show band. Take a look at the Miami show band there. And this is Captain Robert Nyrak here. And Captain Robert Nyrak was tortured under a bridge not too far away from Ravensdale, and his body is buried in this track up here. And to this very day his body has not been recovered. So we're just going to go a small bit here. We're not going to go up to the Ravensdale cottage wood. We're just going to walk up around here. We have a few minutes to spare. Now there was a lady, a medium lady, who walked down here, and she pointed to a location down here where she says Captain Robert Nyrak's body was buried. If Life After Life is watching, that is the tree that Martin walked into and hit his head. It's now there. That is this tree. I'll try and show you a clip of that now. This is where Martin banged his head, if we can find it.
English connection coming through, very, very low voices they're saying coming through here. So, Sean, you see the light go off? Do you all see the light go off? Yes. So something had to activate that, definitely to set it off. Right. This is going to be our last spirit box session underneath the tree. We've got the rampart locked off. This is 100% legit. I don't know what your guys are hearing at home. You're going to hear better because we need to make up the mountain. Not fearing Sean. We're actually in our actions. This is going to be our last time. I want to get Sean. Right, Sean, just say something quick. Just ask the spirits. Anything that comes to your head, and we're going to refresh it. Just anything talk because we want to move on.
I would be pleased if you are able to speak so that we know you're in a safe place.
And this in relation to?
The two boys and Nyrak, even though the dreadful things he done.
I think I do know. For a bit. What the hell? Right, I want to shut that. Okay, I want to shut that down. Kevin, can you put that in the bag? And Martin, will you just pick up that rampart, knock it off underneath, and we're going to move to our next destination. It isn't free. Sean is 74 years of age. It's not afraid. Knock it off from underneath, Martin. So you so like here like this, and push down that area because that area is actually quite expensive. So. Right, we're going to head up, guys. Lights are going to be off. It's going to be dark for a couple of minutes. And we're going to turn around the camera around the other way. It's up there. Follow that light up there. And we're going to turn on all lights. Where's the what do you call it? 1 second now.
Stand.
Huh?
Stand.
Set up there as well. Just 1 second, guys. We're just going to get all lights all sorted.
Yeah. I must get my own one out.
Just 1 second. I have another light in the bag. Push on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Just 1 second now.
I have one in my bag.
Oh yeah, good man. Lovely.
Yeah.
So just 1 second, guys. We're just going to get going now, and we'll get talking to you in a couple of seconds. Trying to make sure everybody's everything in their pockets. Make sure the keys are in our pockets, right? We're just going to walk up here, guys. We're going to walk up slowly now, right? You okay? So we're going to head up this direction here, guys. We're going to walk up here slowly. I don't know if you can see us here walking here. You can. I'm going to turn around the camera around the other way as well. I'm going to turn around the camera as well. So, guys, that is the tree that we're only after doing the spirit box session here. You can see the tree there. And I don't know what you picked up in the ramp pod, but definitely the ramp pod went off as well. So we're going to make our way up. We spent an hour there. We shouldn't have even spent an hour there. So we're going to head up here very slowly. So we're going to head up the mountain. All right, Kevin? Is that all closed up yet? Yeah. So we're going to follow this track here. You're okay, Sean, yeah?
Yeah, I'll just try and just...
So this is I'm just going to show people at home before we move on. These are the two boys' names that were shot underneath that memory of my son Joseph Redmond and his friend Anthony Burnett, rest in peace, on the 7th of March 2012. They are the two boys that were shot underneath that tree. And I don't know what you all have picked up on the ramp pod, but the ramp pod is definitely... So the ramp pod has definitely picked up a few bits. You okay, Sean?
Yeah, just keep the cross on the...
So we're heading up the track now, guys, okay? And we're heading up towards we're heading actually towards the gamekeeper's cottage, but we're going to go to the Ring of Stones. Is that too far away, Sean, is it?
No, it's not that far.
Not too far. So we're just going to the woods, guide. It is quite dark here now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, Kevin, you're okay there, Kevin? Yeah. You want to walk in front of me, Kevin? Robert, have you light? Robert, have you light? Robert?
Yeah, so it's not much of a brain.
No.
I understand.
Right, guys, so that's Kevin in front of us. And you okay? Yeah.
Just keep your eyes on the ground.
Yeah.
So we can see.
Yeah, so it is quite dark now. We're making our way through the woods now, okay? So I hope you enjoyed the first spirit box session underneath the tree where the two boys were murdered. Definitely heard Isaac. I heard definitely a young girl say... We heard a girl's voice saying "Daddy," and we heard different bits and pieces. We heard the name Nairak definitely came true. Definitely Nairak came true in that. So I'm going to read some of the comments as I'm walking up towards you can picture now this is the wood. So we're going to try and read some of the comments that are coming through. So let's try and read some of the comments. Claire Jason says, "Laughing out loud is Irish, could probably tell stories for hours." Budalug says, "Make sure." I'm going to try and get through them. It is quite cold.
Bugalug, sir.
Yeah, just 1 second, Martin. Bugalug says, "Philip, what it feels like up there." Matt T UK says, 1 second now. Matt T UK, my hands are absolutely perished. I don't know about yours, Sean.
No, got me, lads.
Matt T UK says, "Now we're talking, lads. Let's get through those stones and see what happened in." So we're heading towards that bridge to believe we're captain.
Don't keep your lights on. He's head on the tree.
That's the phone, Martin. Huh?
Have you no light?
Put on the light on your phone. So Martin's only after walking into a tree. Hey, just down there, everybody. You okay, Martin?
Rang me on a private number and I answer.
Right, Martin's only after walking into that branch there, look. So Budalugs, Martin's only after walking into this branch here and he nearly knocked himself out.
Look, I'm dead.
Put the light on your phone.
Banged his head off that tree there. We hope you enjoyed it. But Captain Robert Nairak, his body is in here. His body is in this wood somewhere. And I believe that his body is up there at the top of the trail, up that side of the wood, morely towards the wall. How do I know that? Because I met an old man here one time and he pointed up over there to that location. The medium one pointed over here, but not. His body is up in that direction. So that is the story of Captain Robert Nyrak. So let's move to our next story and we'll see you in a minute. Right folks, welcome to the third location of Ravensdale Wood. This place itself holds back a haunting of two different locations here on this little bridge and that little water fountain. The story goes to Sean Waters. We all know who Sean Waters is. Sean Waters has been in a live investigation here in this Ravensdale Wood. But the story goes that Sean Waters lived up here in these woods, right up in here at the top of these woods. There's a cottage called the Ravensdale Cottage, known as the Gamekeeper's Cottage. Sean Waters' family lived in that for many generations. But the story goes that Sean used to walk down these woods at night time to go to the local shop for a loaf of bread and a pint of milk. But the story, you all heard the story of the Banshee. Banshee exists here, does it or doesn't, we don't know. We often heard a story about the black dog. The black dog, where Sean was walking down these woods one night and came down this river, and the black dog faced Sean with big red eyes. Story.
And just think it was too much, and I had to rescue him with the Titanic. And we used the Ridge Monkey weed bottle, and it blew up. But look, Sean is here today to live the story, and that's all that counts, isn't it?
Yeah.
You enjoyed yourself.
And you rescued me.
I rescued you. So, Sean, can I ask you a straight question? I'm going to get Kevin to hold this up here for a second. Just hold it like that, Kevin, for me a second. Actually, you know, we know the pod in a minute, Kevin, because I want to spend about 4 minutes talking to this man before we move on. I just want to turn the camera in a way so I can see him. So, and Kevin, if you can come in the background, and Martin is there too. Just come in the back of us, if you can. Right, so folks, let me get straight in. Sean, Ravensdale Wood, tell me about for the people at home, can you tell them, Ravensdale Wood, can you explain to us what's happening here, Ray? What happened over here in the last couple of years in Ravensdale Wood?
Couple of years, well, maybe a bit more than that.
Yeah.
Some very nasty events took place. Over there by the bridge, over the river, there was a British soldier who was literally battered to a pulp and then shot. His bones or his body has never been found.
And his name is Isaac.
He was Captain Nyrak of the British Army, who was working undercover in South Armagh. And he was responsible. He was at the scene of the massacre of the Miami show band.
Yes, actually, Joe is watching this at the moment, and Joe, it would be Kevin's father, and he explained some of the history of the Miami show band. And what he told me is that they were coming home in a minibus, and they were all...
That's right. I actually watched the documentary just today.
Yes.
It's on YouTube.
Yes.
Of one of the survivors, one of the two survivors.
Yes. Yeah.
He explained everything that happened that night. And how he got blown over the hedge in the ditch and down into the field.
And is the story true that this Captain Nyrak, is it?
Nyrak.
Did he have something to do with the killing of the Miami show band?
He was present that night,
He was present that night.
Because they heard the clear, high, posh English accent.
Yes.
And he, smallish man.
And come here, we're going to move away from that now, right? So you roughly have a rough idea. So see, we have so much to cover here tonight. That's only one. We have about 5 or 6 different stories to tell. This man here called Maker Med, he said you're 100% right. And this man knows the history of the Miami show band. And he says that this man, I keep forgetting, Captain Nyrak was an evil man.
Very.
Very, very evil man. And
he crossed the border and he shot people in their houses in the south.
In other words, he was a bit like Oliver
He
Cromwell.
was a bit of a loner. He just did his own thing.
And I know by watching, I know by watching some of the research on YouTube that the people that did kill Nyrak, the soldier, said that he was a very proud man and he took it well. I don't know, did you see that on the...
Well, he was awarded a posthumous military cross because of his bravery and not giving anything away to his torture.
Yes. So come here, Sean, for the people at home, that he was SAS, whatever that means.
He was trained by the SAS to come and work in South Armagh.
Right.
Pretending to be a labourer from Belfast.
All right. So it's believed the story, Sean, that he was captured in Johnstown, Jonesboro.
A place called Drummondtee, the Three Steps Pub.
Yes. and he was taken to this bridge over here.
Yes, and literally beaten to a pulp.
Right.
And then shot.
Right, so this Captain Nizarak, he was brought over to this bridge where we're going to start our investigation tonight.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be shot and killed at this location.
Yes.
And there's two stories going. There's one story going saying that he was put to a meter grinder.
No.
And there's another story saying that he was shot here and dragged and buried somewhere in this locality.
Yes. Now, I knew a man who's dead now. He worked, he was in the IRA in the 50s.
Yes.
And he said that Nirak's body was built into a bridge.
Built into the bridge. And we've only actually two bridges here. We have this one here, and we have the one on the way up to
it wouldn't be that one, because that's where he was actually killed.
Yeah, so there's only one bridge, and that's the one, the big one on the way.
It could be.
Right, so that is roughly the story, guys. Switch into it. So that's one story. And before we move on, guys, we're not ignoring chat. We have Martin and Kevin behind, and we have Butter down here. That's Robert. So can I just tell you another story, Sean? You were, how would I say it? This is known as the Ravensdale Wood.
Yes.
Your father, God rest his soul, and your mother, your father was given a job back here.
He was a forestry ganger.
What year was that, roughly?
Early 50s.
So 1950. So
19.
1950, your father was offered a job here in Ravensdale Wood.
Yeah, he'd been working for some time.
Yeah.
But then he was promoted to the ganger.
Yeah.
And he was given the use of the house up here.
Right.
And we all lived there for 10 years.
So what we're trying to tell the people is that this man here, okay, Mr. Walters, his father was actually given a beautiful job here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And his father
planting these trees.
Planting all these trees in this wood. In hand working in here, his father was given, and his wife, to bring up his family in the gamekeeper's cottage that's located on top of the hill of this mountain.
That's right.
And Sean has so many stories, but we're going to get to that in a few minutes, okay? But the story goes, we're going to run through as quick as we can, that the gamekeeper himself, now if I'm wrong, Sean, you can tell me here as well. So the gamekeeper himself was out doing his work one night, and he's supposed to be shot a young boy for poaching. Is this correct?
Yes.
So the gamekeeper shot a young boy in his teenage years. And
he was a widow's son.
He was a widow's son. And the story goes, where Sean says that the gamekeeper that lived in the gamekeeper's cottage before Sean's father and mother took it over. Long before Sean's mother and father took the gamekeeper's cottage over, the gamekeeper hung himself in the living room.
That's right.
Over shooting the young boy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, roughly.
Because the widow put a curse on the man.
Yes.
For shooting her only son.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you a little story. One night I came up here on my own.
Yes.
To the old house, and I had a wee dog with me.
Yes.
And some treats for him in my bag.
Yes.
I went into that main room where the hook on the ceiling, lit the fire as usual, and the little dog would not enter that room. No matter how much I tried to persuade him, he would not.
Yeah. So these are some of the stories, but some of the stories that Mr. Walters has to tell me here is unbelievable. But what one has really got my attention, there's one that's got really, because there's actually, I'm going to come back to that one in a minute, but I'm going to come back to the one where your mother was in the room with your father and you were in the small box room. You're all going to see it hopefully tonight. And your mother heard the scraping on the floor.
That's right, big claws.
Big claws coming from upstairs, and that's coming ahead
on the bare wooden floor.
On the floor.
She was throwing shoes at the damn thing.
Yeah. So can you tell the people, I explained to the people, I always do a little ad before I go somewhere. And I explained about the black dog with the red eyes at Ravensdale Wood.
That's the one I saw.
So the people at home, listen to what Mr. Walters is going to say now, right? I want you to listen to this story. This man was brought up in this wood from what age roughly?
From about 4 to 14, 10 years.
So 10 years he spent here as a young lad, living here in Ravensdale Wood. Yeah. So anybody knows the history about this place would be Mr. Walters. So explain to the folk, look at the camera, explain what you experienced, don't experience of this black creature.
Well, I was coming up from the road over there where I did some shopping that was left.
Yes.
2 bags and had a torch. I was happily whistling along, and I had a wee dog with me.
Yes.
And suddenly, this rush between me and the stream beside, stream beside me.
Yes.
Suddenly, in the light of the torch, this massive black hound with blazing red eyes appeared and disappeared in
seconds.
In a split second.
Yeah.
And I came over all hot from head to toe.
Yes.
And I began to scream because I was uncontrollably shocked.
And come here, and that happened just a couple of 100 yards away from this bridge where we started tonight's show.
Yeah.
Up here to the left hand side.
Up to there.
And so when you Ravensdale Wood holds many of the stories here. When we come here at night time, you don't see the magic of this place. It's spooktacular during the day, never mind during the night. This location we're taking you down, this little track here, as you can see, goes down right down into the middle of the woods here. It's spooky during the day, never mind coming here at night time. But the story goes here that back in 1960s, possibly in the 50s, not 100% sure, but I met the brother. The brother is roughly about 83 years of age. He told me a story here one day in relation to this location where we are, this track here, that the family were taking a picnic. We're going to show you the picnic bench in a few minutes. It wasn't there in the time, but there was grass. They were sitting there. But back in this little track here, this is where the young lad was playing with his brother up and down, the run up and down this track here. For some urton, we don't know what happened, but a man appeared out of the wood out of here and attacked the young lad and bet him to a pulp, and the young lad died from his severe beatings. And that's the story about I think it's fourth location of a murder of a young boy in his teenage years, that he was just running around here with his brother and he was beaten to a pulp back in the 50s, 60s, late 50s, early 60s, in this location here. He was just, for no reason, some man just came out of the woods and attacked him, and that's a true story, because I met your man. He had a big cowboy cap, and he would tell me the story that his young brother was murdered here in Ravensdale Wood, and it was roughly about the 50s. So he's about 85, so go back, we'll say, take 13 years off 85, so that's the year that he was killed here. So let's go to another location. This is the location, roughly around here, where the young lads were having their picnic back in the early 50s, 60s. Not 100% sure about the date, but between the 50s and 60s, they were having their picnic. None of these benches were here at the time. All these trees here were all planted by Sean Walter's father when he had the job as a gamekeeper, living up in the gamekeeper's cottage. How do I know all these stories? Well, Sean Walter told me he was brought up by young lads. But Sean Walter never knew about this story. He was very shocked to find out about it. But this is a true story. In roughly late 50s, early 60s, the family were having a picnic here in Ravensdale Wood, and the young lad was running up and down that track there, and somewhere out or another they heard awful screaming where a man appeared out of the woods and bet the young lad to a pulp for no reason at all. The family took the young lad to the nearest A&E, and the young lad died from his wounds. And that is a true story because his older brother told me the story himself. So let's go back down to the car park and we'll see you in a minute. I mentioned the story about the banshee cries out here at night time. If you don't know what the banshee is, take a look at this now in a second. But the banshee is also, not only do we have the black dog, but we have the banshee as well. There's so much stories to be told here in Ravensdale. Take a look at the story of the banshee. See you in a minute.
The banshee is a harbinger, fancy word, but she's the one who warns certain Irish families of death, of a coming death in the family. And Irish people, they weren't afraid of the banshee. Most people heard the banshee rather than saw the banshee. But I've heard people, I've recorded people who actually saw the banshee. Most heard, few saw. I've recorded a few people who did actually see her. And the description they gave me of her was tall, thin woman with long grey hair. Now, I've recorded a couple of long stories about her, too long to go into here, but one of them, frightening story, it was on the way home from the fair of Gott. A young man at the time, here they were now after a miserable day at the fair, and they were coming back nearly dawn. The sun he saw the light in the window, the mother obviously making the breakfast. And just as they were coming in the morning, there, sitting above on the wall on the left-hand side, he told me, was this woman combing her hair, long grey hair. And I didn't know who she was. She wasn't anybody local. So anyway, the father and the son, they were together. And as they passed her, the father saluted her. No reply, she just kept combing and combing. And they passed on. Now, the gate was just ahead of them. And the uncle was a couple of steps behind, and he saluted. No reply. But the boy told me, and the old man as he was then, he said the uncle was a different kind of a fella entirely. When he got no reply, he crept over and he slapped the comb out of her hand, not meaning no harm, but just see what he gets a response. And immediately there was this wail. He said, well, he said, it froze their blood, or mine anyway, he says. Well, they made for the gate and burst in the gate and made for the door. We burst in the door, and he said, what I noticed was my mother there at the fire, open fireplace at the time, and she's stirring a pot of whatever she was making for the breakfast, probably porridge or something. And she looked at us, and she saw the comb, obviously, in my uncle's hand. And she said, close the door. And my father slammed out the door, and this crying surrounded the house. And my mother said, what in the Christ did you do? And when she saw the comb, of course, she said, oh, Lord Christ, she said, what are you after doing? And my uncle said, all right, he says, I'll give it back. And my mother said, no, she says. And she made for the fire where the tongs was. And she said, give me that. And she took the comb in the tongs, big old-fashioned tongs, like the ones a blacksmith would make, and took the comb in the tongs, and she said, open it, a small bit. And my father opened the door a couple of inches, and she poked out the tongs and the comb on it, and immediately it snapped out of her hand, and she slammed out the door, and the thing stopped, the crying stopped. Now, the one thing he remembered, he said, was the silence. And the four of them there in the kitchen, and the silence. He said, it seemed like 10 minutes. But he said it was probably only 10 seconds. But that silence. And then he said, my mother, luckily somebody kept there since. My mother went over to the window. And of course, in a cottage, small windows. And the shutters, timber shutters, that time she opened them. And it was dawn by now, and she looked out, and there, down on the footpath, under the window, was the tongs, the heavy tongs now, and it twisted into an S-hook. And she said to my uncle, come here, she said, look at this, look out there. And he did. And she says, if you had put out your hand with that comb, that'd be your hand now, that'd be your arm now. A dirty looking idiot, she says.
Right folks, so join me live here in the next live investigation of the gamekeeper's cottage. Now, there are some of the stories that you've watched in relation to Ravensdale Wood. So, before we finish, let me go through it again. So we have the two young boys that were murdered here in the car park. We have Captain Robert Nyrak. We have the young boy that was murdered up here on the left-hand side. We haven't even gone far as the Black Dog and the Banshee. Not only did we have the gamekeeper's cottage. There's a picture of the gamekeeper's cottage right now. There you go. And the story of the gamekeeper's cottage is the gamekeeper's cottage shot a young boy poaching for rabbits back in the early 70s. And the landlady had her only son, and the gamekeeper shot him by pure accident for stealing rabbits, and that young boy was shot dead outside the gamekeeper's cottage. The gamekeeper himself found so guilty, he hung himself in the sitting room, so you're going to see that live as well. And also then you have another abandoned famine house on the right hand side where a family of 6 died from smoke and insulation. So join me live here in Ravensdale Wood in our next live. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you very, very soon. Slán agus.